Well, hello and welcome back to the Celebration Machine. Unless this is your first time, welcome to the Celebration Machine. I'm your host, Pete Hammond. And in today's video, in the spirit of getting to know me, I haven't even made 10 videos yet. And in the spirit of getting to know me, last video I introduced the fact that I was a cancer patient, cancer veteran, and I kind of wanted to tell another story in that realm because this plague that's going around is taking out all my guests, taking out everybody, myself included. I'm still sick with this damn thing. But anyway, it's not a tumor, so we'll get over it. So because I don't have a guest, I'm going to tell a quick story. And it's one of my favorite cancer stories. And if you're a cancer survivor, cancer patient, I'm sure you've got a lot of them too, because the only way through it is to find the funny shit in that experience. So this story is actually, it was the first time I went back after my treatment to see how I did, see how my body responded to it. And it started off, I was in a waiting room. And again, this is back in the day, 1994, 95, and no cell phones, old magazines. And people used to sit in waiting rooms, believe it or not, and talk to each other or just stare at their shoes or be awkward or whatever. So I get to this waiting room where I'm going to go meet with a doctor, or sorry, this was to get some imaging done. And after you get the imaging done, the x-rays, you go see your oncologist. Your oncologist puts the x-rays up and reviews them right in front of you. At least that was my experience. So I get to this room and it's just myself and this other woman, and she's just crying. She's crying softly to herself. And I wasn't just going to sit there and not say, hey, you okay? How you doing? So I said, hey, ma'am, sorry to bother you. I just, I can see you're having a hard time. Do you want to talk about it? Is there anything I can do to help? And she's like, oh, sorry, I shouldn't be crying. And I said, well, we're in a cancer clinic. There's lots of that. It's okay. She goes, yeah, I'm back from my first visit. I was cancer free for a decade and my cancer's come back with a vengeance. And I was like, oh man, that sucks. I'm really sorry. And do you mind me asking, what kind of cancer you had? And she said, oh, Hodgkin's disease. And I was like, shit. And she goes, what? And I said, well, I'm here for my first checkup post treatment, and that's the disease I have. And she felt horrible. Like she immediately grabbed, oh my God. She starts crying. I'm so sorry. Oh my God. This is terrible. I feel so bad. And I'm like, well, I'm sure it's going to be fine. I'm sure everything's going to be okay for both of us. It's very treatable. We're in good shape. We're in good hands, and it's going to be okay. But I mean, I have to admit, I was kind of freaked out. What are the odds? This person is the only person in the waiting room, and she just so happens to be back to deal with for the second time the disease that I just finished treatment for the first time. So anyways, I comforted her the best of my ability. She got called in, and that was that. So now I'm sitting there and I'm worried, now I'm thinking, I'm in my head. Yeah, and as for anyone who's been in those situations, you know how it is. You're just sitting there starting to freak out. And I'm trying to breathe, and I'm trying to do all the things I've learned throughout treatment, learning how to breathe, and I put my mind somewhere else, and I'm trying to meditate in my chair. And anyways, I get called in and I do my x-rays and I go through all that, and then I go to see my oncologist. So I get to the oncologist part of it, and I get led into the room, and you're sitting on this table, like this exam table, and there's the light thing in front of you. And this the guy, I was like 20 or 21 or whatever, and he couldn't have been more than 30, 28, 30. This Indian dude, this doctor, super great energy, comes in and he's all full of piss and vinegar, and he's not my doctor. And I said, where's my Dr. Cross? Where's Dr. Cross? Oh, what's going on? Dr. Cross isn't here. I'm going to help you out. I said, okay, cool. So he throws up the charts or the x-rays, and he's sitting there and he's looking at them, and I'm behind him, and he looks back at me and he's shaking his head, and he's shaking his head. And I'm going to do an Indian accent because, I'm not a racist piece of shit, but because he was Indian, and it's funnier to me in my head when I think about it. And to all my Indian friends, you know me, I'm not a piece of shit. So vouch for me in the comments if you see this and be like, no, he's not a racist. So with my, permission of my Indian brothers and sisters, I will do the accent. God damn it. So he's looking at my charts and he's taking a while and he looks at me and he looks back and he's looking concerned and I'm starting to get really worried now. And he goes, finally turns around and looks at me and goes, well, you're going to die. And I'm like, and everything just sort of goes, just, I'm staring at him and it's like 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. And he goes, but not today. And I was like, I mean, I don't know if you've ever been in a moment like that where you went from like sheer terror and just absolute, oh my God, my life is over, to just the greatest feeling of relief that you've ever experienced. But that's what happened. So I went from, oh my fucking God, I'm going to die, to this guy just pulled a joke on me. And my first instinct beyond the relief was I really wanted to punch him because that was completely insane what he did. And he's laughing his ass off. He thinks it's the funniest thing ever. And I said to him, doctor, okay, good one, but like you cannot do that to people. That is so fucked up what you just did, you know? Like, and it's hilarious. It is absolutely hilarious. And especially now, like years later, I still think about it and it makes me laugh. And I'm like trying to tell him, like, I know in Canada, like we joke around. I don't know how long you've been here, man, but I don't know who told you like this was a good idea, but do not ever do that again. And he just fucking laughs and he goes, oh, shut up. It's okay. Go make babies. And he smacks me on the back and like leaves the room. And I was just like, oh my God. Like, so I left there and I wasn't even pissed after a while. That was just such a perfect sort of uh, first checkup because I was already worried about it, got in my head because of the woman I met. And then he basically says my worst nightmare, but then it turns out to be a joke and he just laughs his ass off and then let me off the hook emotionally or whatever. And I just thought, you motherfucker, excuse my language if you're a kid watching this, but those are some serious adult moments. And he got me and it was funny. And I'll never forget that ever in my life. You're going to die, but not today. And I told him, comedy is timing, brother. And you left, like, that was way too many Mississippis. So, like, if you're going to do that, I don't know what made him think that I was, obviously, I took it the right way, but I don't know. He just made a judgment call, but he thought it was hysterical. And I can't remember that doctor's name, but I hope he's doing well because that was funny. And I hope he's told that to all his friends and family over the past 30 some odd years about the time he scared the absolute shit out of that Canadian dude. Excuse me. So that's my funny little cancer story for the day. I know it's not much of a video, but I wanted to share that so that it now lives on forever on the internet. So I'm Pete Hammond. This is the Celebration Machine. Whatever you're doing, I hope you're doing it well, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks so much. Have yourself a great day.